Well, greetings everybody from, you won't believe it, St. Thomas's Hospital in London. I have the most magnificent room which they have very kindly given me, which is dead across from the Houses of Parliament. And beautiful view, except I can't see it because I'm not able to move, because my leg is in traction, because this is being filmed on Sunday, late Sunday evening. I went to the screening of, and you need to bear with me, I'm drugged up with morphine. I went to the screening this afternoon of The Truth Will Out, Amanda Elliosh's wonderful movie about whether William Shakespeare wrote all of his sonnets or not. And it was held at the Soho Hotel. They couldn't have been nicer. I arrived. They allowed me to park in the forecourt because I had Nikki and Aurora with me. And they're very happy, incidentally, in the car. They like being in the car. And I went in. I saw Alison Jackson and Amanda Elliosh, and we were chatting, and I arrived at about 2:00, and the movie was beginning at 2:30, and at 2:20, I went into the screening room, which is beautiful, black on black. And Amanda said, "Oh, you sit there." So I was going to be sitting in the front row. And I look, one looks as one walks to see what's happening. And I looked, and the floor seemed perfectly fine. And there was somebody sitting nearby. So for me to get to my seat, I was going to have to either cross over their legs, or then I was going to have to circumvent their legs, and I circumvented their legs. What nobody told me, and really, so this Soho Hotel should have had someone there pointing out to people that there was a drop of between 12 and 18 inches from that level to a lower level, but it's all black, and you look and you think it's all the same level, and it's not the same level. And I stepped into the abyss and broke my pelvis. I knew as soon as it had happened that I'd broken something. It was obvious. The pain was excruciating, and I couldn't move. I still can't move. I'm okay-ish as long as I don't move. But if they move me in any way, shape, or form, it is absolute agony. And in fact, they have me traction now. So my leg is weighted. And anyway, the whole thing has been a nightmare. It's been extremely painful, the whole thing. And I was brought by ambulance to St. Thomas's Hospital. And interestingly enough, one of the young men was lovely, two lovely young men in the ambulance. And one of them said, that notwithstanding the fact that they being the hotel, had told him about the dip in the floor, he nearly tripped and fell into the abyss. And Alison Jackson, who is a well-known, she does all sorts of interesting things film-wise. She also nearly, well, she said she stepped down and didn't realize the depth of it. I mean, it's unbelievable that this hotel would have a screening room that looks fabulous, but is so unsafe. They don't have anybody telling anybody anything. So you don't know that you are going to be in danger. And so anyway, I was brought to St. Thomas's Hospital, and they have, I'm sorry, the phone is going to have to keep on doing that because I have to be communicado. And they, so I am in traction in the hospital in a very nice room, and everybody, bar one, has been absolutely wonderful. I cannot tell you how wonderful practically everyone has been. The doctors, the nurses, the people with the scans, etc. And my injury is extremely painful if I am at all touched. So I'm going to ask Sean to post a few of the pictures at the end. And I have to commend everybody who's been here so far. I think I will be going tomorrow to, I forget which hospital it is now because I'm so doped up with morphine. And because for them to do the traction, they had to also dope me up. So, and it's the third time for the day they've doped me up. So, and tomorrow I'm going to whatever the hospital is, and they will doubtless be operating. So I think things might be a little bit erratic in the next few weeks. So I wanted you to know the reason why, and so without further ado, I am going to plunge in because nothing is more boring than illness, quite frankly. And I'm going to ignore it, and I'm going to plunge in and just sort of hopefully do a show that is going to be somewhat entertaining. So, Mary Bloomfield says, Lady C, be careful. There are dark and powerful forces at play, and I suspect Meghan Markle is connected to them. Well, yeah, she most likely is, but I don't think she has anything to do with my accident. It's entirely due to the fact that the Soho Hotel had no instructions, no lighting, no warning, and a 12 to 18 foot drop from one floor to the other. And nobody warns anybody about it, which, I mean, shows a lack of negligence and a duty of care that is absolutely astounding. But I suppose they have put appearance before good sense. So I wouldn't mind so much if this wasn't so excruciatingly painful. And it's going to be extremely, it's because it's a very serious fracture, and it's going to be extremely inconveniencing for the next several weeks. But hopefully I'll be able to work around it. I won't be able to walk. Charming, no? Anyway, I don't think Mary Bloomfield that Meghan has a thing to do with this. I think it's just, but yes, there are dark and powerful forces at play, and I'm not so sure that she actually is a participant so much as the fact that she takes advantage. But is she creating what is going on with Andrew and Sarah? I mean, to an extent, they are responsible because they are the ones who actually have misbehaved and have done so over a period of decades. And so let's be very clear about the fact that where they're concerned, the chickens are coming home to roost. But the fact of the matter is, even though the chickens are coming home to roost, they're coming home to roost not as justly as they should be. Let us put it that way. And they are proving to be a massive distraction for and protecting, as a result, many far more powerful people than they are, who have far more invidious agendas than they do. I mean, their whole thing in life has simply been to make as much money as possible. And some of it has been pretty unsavory. But it has to be said, I don't think lynch mobs are ever attractive. So, on that note, I'll go with what Busha Bandulu says. Awagwan Irie Lady C. Well, I have to tell you, Busha Bandulu, Awagwan, plenty. I have had so many wonderful interchanges today with members of the staff at St. Thomas's Hospital. Jamaicans, half Jamaicans, Nigerians, Malaysians, just English, not that many many native English, but not that many indigenous English. Everybody bar one has been wonderful, and the one who was not so wonderful refused to understand that I had to be moved in a particular way, otherwise it was going to be excruciating. And she was trying to tell me, well, she's done it all the time and blah, blah, blah. And the fact of the matter is that I pointed out to her, you might have done it all the time, but they just dragged it downstairs and it was excruciating, and you need to get me from one bed to another in another way. And finally, everything worked out all right. So that is one out of maybe 30, 35 people, all of whom have been marvellous, absolutely marvellous. And I have to tell you, it's great to be a Jamaican in a situation like this, because you run across so many Jamaicans or Africans who are lovely and love the fact that one is Jamaican. So anyway, Pixie Bell says, this is very interesting, a great change of pace, and off the topic of the dastardly duo. Truth be told, this question was plucked out before I had the fall, and I really don't remember what it alludes to. Sorry. So I don't remember what it alluded to. So I'm just going to read out because, as I say, I'm totally drugged up to my eyeballs. And I can't change anything now because it will make life too impossible. Kathy MM says, how interesting. My university professor may have been correct. Many years ago, when I was a student who was studying British literature, I had a professor who did not believe that Shakespeare wrote all of these plays. I still remember this as I was rather stunned, because during high school English classes, we were always told that Shakespeare wrote the plays, or we assumed that it was so. Well, there's been debate about it for some considerable length of time, and ironically enough, one of the guys who helped me when I fell and broke my pelvis was the present Duke of St. Albans, heir in line. And he's holding up my head. And I'm saying, no, you need to get my back with more support. And he said, oh, actually, you know my grandfather. So I said, oh, who's that? He said, Murray St. Albans. I said, oh, yes, we're old friends. And then there was another nice guy who, again, this one's name, it completely eludes me. I can't remember, because, as I say, I'm totally doped up. He helped Julian Assange, and he was so nice and kind and helpful. And he's offered to come and visit me in the hospital. And Alison Jackson came, and she visited me in the hospital, and she helped. And my son Dima and his wonderful girlfriend Primrose, they came, and they have been absolutely wonderful. They said that the manager of the hotel couldn't have been nicer. And lovely that he was so nice. They really, this should never have happened, because I'm not careless, and there is no way that if you didn't know that there was a split level floor and that it wasn't even just an ordinary step. Had it been an ordinary step, I would have been okay. But the crash of between 12 and 18 inches from one level to another meant that my hip bone broke my pelvis. Amazing. Anyway, you should, if you can, I'd suggest you try to get to see or ask Netflix to buy the movie, which is called The Truth Will Out. Scarlett says, Dear Lady C, I would love to hear your comments on the video from X where Meghan Markle is at Emma Grade's dinner and Meghan Markle is by herself chugging wine. She was down to the last dregs. Very unbecoming. Do you think she was posing to look lonely, or did someone actually film her without her knowing? I have no idea, my dear. It's quite possible that she was filmed by someone without her knowledge. I mean, when I was down, and they were moving me, and it was excruciating, and I actually made a sound or two. There was a photographer taking photographs, and there was somebody else videoing me. So that happens nowadays. Goes with the territory. And I suppose one simply has to understand that if you're out and about and you're in public and you're in the public eye, somebody is going to or might photograph you. And therefore it behooves you to behave impeccably at all times. I mean, it has to be said, I apologized for having derailed for Amanda's premiere. And there I was until the ambulance crew came. There I was, because I couldn't be moved, it was so painful, lying down and trying to look at the movie through my mirror, through my makeup mirror, can you imagine? Because I tried to look at it by twisting, but I couldn't be moved. And when I was twisting myself to get a better view, it was impossible because I was getting a cramp. So I then looked at it. So then when they finally arrived, the ambulance arrived and they moved me. The movie had to stop. And of course, I apologized because nothing is more tiresome than, deflecting attention away from your hostess, especially when she has done something as accomplished as what Amanda and Hector did, because it's a wonderfully produced film and it's really interesting, and they have some of the finest experts contributing to it. But, Meghan, if you notice, is often drinking. Meghan has always been a drinker. And I have made the point, and I'm going to make it again, that, and I'm not saying Meghan is a female alcoholic, but I have noticed that female alcoholics often have very dried up calves. For some reason, the alcohol in the system sucks the meat out of somebody's calves. Meghan doesn't have calves. So, but is it for her to get sympathy? Well, she certainly needs the sympathy at this point, because everything has derailed and nothing is going according to plan. And everything is in a total mess. So, Scarlett says, Dear Lady C, I would love to hear your comments on the video from X. Oh, sorry, I've done that, and I'm not cutting it. I'm sorry, I'm not editing. I'm just not up to it. So you'll have to hopefully bear with me and cut me some slack. Tanya Fabregas says, Good afternoon, Lady Colin and fellow members. Good afternoon to you too, Tanya Fabregas, although it's actually 1:00 in the morning. And I, as I say, am at St. Thomas's Hospital, having been here since, well, the accident happened at 2:20. So on Thursday and Friday, the 30th and the 31st, there is a trial happening in Leeds, West Yorkshire, near where I live, where a 62-year-old Sussex Squad member by the name of Diane Durham is taking place. She threatened to blow up Buckingham Palace. I gewalt. Plus said some pretty deplorable things on X regarding a YouTuber. The judge ordered some psychiatric assessments to take place, and she was deemed unfit to stand trial. I wait with bated breath for the outcome. Well, I think we have the outcome. If the judge has declared that she's not fit to stand trial, there won't be a trial. You need to be fit to stand trial for there to be a trial. If there isn't aptitude, and if there isn't, whatever the word is called, I'm sorry, I'm too spaced out to come up with it. Capability, but it's not. Capacity, it's not that either. I'm going to work through the whole of my mental thesaurus before I arrive at my correct things, so bear with me. If she's a nutter, she's a nutter. People need to be competent. They need to have competency. If they don't have competency in our legal system, it is not right that they actually should be tried. Trials are for people who are competent and therefore responsible. If you lack competency, you do not have sufficient responsibility for your actions to be tried and to be punished. It's as simple as that. So I would imagine that's the scenario. Bettina Shusha says, the fact he is looking very tall seems to be more interested in the church all of a sudden, that is, the visit to the Pope, etc. Sometimes the actions of someone who knows they will meet their Maker in a shorter than expected time, etc. Yes, well, there's been a lot of debate about the King's health, his lifespan, and his, shall we say, possible lack of longevity. May I say, nobody knows how long they have. Really. The king, being sufficiently intelligent and well informed to be aware of the realities of his situation, knows that although he's getting the best treatment that's available, and although it is working, it doesn't have to continue working. He is obviously mindful of the fact that he could end up with a shorter lifespan than he would otherwise have wanted. When you are in his situation, unless you're wildly unrealistic, which it's not possible for somebody with his responsibilities to be, you are aware of the fact that upon your demise, certain issues become relevant, and you have to factor those into the equation as you set about functioning. And that's what he's doing. It's, yes, he's thin, but that's not so extraordinary. He's also, may I point out, always watched his weight. He and his father both were always very weight conscious, never putting on a pound, making absolutely sure that whatever they did, that their clothes still fit, that they'd be able to wear things from 30 years ago and 50 years ago. So none of this is unique, but if you don't pack a few extra pounds, as he's never packed, when something like this happens, of course you are much thinner than you would be if you carried a little bit of extra weight, as do I, which most likely has helped me, because I could have been in far worse shape, but because I have a little bit of weight around my hips and tummy, that I think helped to cushion the fall. Pretty bad, but it could have been worse. So one needs to count one's blessings, and also Charles is very, very sensible and very responsible. And of course, he's going to be aware of the fact that his time could be a lot more limited than it would otherwise have been. You can take things for granted until something dramatic or profound or life-changing, such as the diagnosis of a severe illness, takes place. At which point, well, if you're realistic, you damn well know how to deal with it. So, I hope that answers the question. Janet Bryan says, many of the attacks on the king are coming from the right, not the left. Demands he overrules the elected government, mad claims of his conversion to Islam. Those on the left who want to see the end of the monarchy need only sit back and watch them destroy themselves as the skeletons rattle out of the cupboard. If they are wise, the British royal family will clean house and bolster popular support. There is no doubt about it, Andrew and Sarah's behaviour has been unsavoury. But the overreaction has been tremendous. Make no mistake about it. There are dark forces at play in this country. Many of the Whitehall mandarins are very, very much in favour of an elected head of state. They are in an ideal position to drop banana skins everywhere. They are also in an ideal position to, when they see banana skins in existence, to turn out the lights and wait for the catapult. Let's put it that way. There's a left-wing press that is definitely anti-monarchist. Ironically enough, the very young are more monarchist than the relatively young, amazingly. So he does need to do the right thing. I have to say, my opinion is that there are times when, if you are going to be honourable and decent and true to sterling virtues and sound values, you go against the tide. There are times when that is necessary. Always seeking public support is not that wise an action. There are times when you have to make a decision. Is it in my spiritual and practical enlightened self-interest to go against the flow? And if the answer is yes, you go against the flow in the hope that with the passage of time, the fact that you were behaving decently and correctly and ethically, and that you were considering all the pros and cons, and that you were not going with the flow, once those are factored into the equation, many people will come around and say, oh, well, yeah, he was right. He took a long-term view. Sometimes being too aware of public opinion puts your reactions and your agenda in the clutches of people who do not wish you well, and no matter how much you pander to them, ultimately you are going to suffer, and they are the ones who are going to end up benefiting. So that's my take on it. And as you might be able to note, I actually have been very careful recently to adhere to the facts as they have been revealed to me. Seeking Truth says, Dear Lady C, why can't you accept that Andrew and Sarah are horrible people and need their comeuppance? It's not just about the debauchery of both of them. It's also about the fraud, the dark connections, the treatment of staff, the misuse of the royal titles, and the list goes on. Destruction of property, naked man dying trying to escape the palace, etc., etc. And I'm going to read out what Denise Moore says. She does see it. Big does. I don't know where people get the idea that I have blanket supported Andrew and Sarah when I've never done any such thing. People who want to say somebody stole a sheep and therefore we should pretend that they stole the whole of the Empire State Building and be treated accordingly are entitled to that. I'm entitled to say there's a difference between a sheep and the Empire State Building. And I'm not going to be bamboozled into making claims and stating things that will turn out to be unsustainable. The fact of the matter is, in that situation, absolutely no one that I can see comes out of it with any great degree of credit. Not one of them. And I know people love to be able to be morally indignant and to fulminate and to really turn the guilty into the innocent. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. I will say that somebody deserves compassion when they do, but I will also say that if you're over a certain age, you should know the difference between right and wrong. And if you don't, it's indicative of underlying issues with you. So let's leave it at that. I know it disturbs some people that I take a nuanced view of things. If I didn't take a nuanced view of things, I wouldn't be lying where I'm lying right now, able to still pseudo-function, notwithstanding all of the vicissitudes to which I have been subjected. Seeking Truth says, hello, Lady C. Have you seen the BBC interview and subsequent declaration where Virginia says she is not something sidle, this being YouTube, and that evil people are trying to kill her? Here is her quote. I'm making it publicly known that in no way, shape or form am I something sidle. I have made this known to my therapist and GP if something happens to me. In the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quietened, she wrote. I am aware of it. I am aware of it. And I think, as I've said, one would have to have a heart of stone not to feel compassion for her in her great distress. This is what she said. I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what happened. Nobody really knows exactly what happened. But the information I have received, which is credible, is that she basically, it was murder by something side, and that I think the whole thing is tragic, very, but what is there to do about it? It's happened. We need to accept it and move on. And we also need to know that Andrew and Sarah have behaved abominably, but they are guilty of no real crime. Even if every word Virginia Giuffre said about Andrew were true and were proven to be true, he still committed no crime. We need to remember that. And the tremendous hysteria, it's as a friend of mine who's a lawyer said to me today, it's a lynching. And it is a lynching. And, you know, in the deep south, people would be lynched not because of any crime they'd committed, but because people didn't like their face and their face didn't fit. I don't know why some people struggle with the fact that it behooves all of us to have a refined and balanced sense of justice. And that means that even when somebody is odious and they have done palpably wrong things, do they deserve to be treated as if they were the most dreadful monsters that God put on this earth? While other people who have been accused of far greater crimes, actual crimes, by the same party, are let off the hook. I don't know, it seems to me that a double standard is not a very good thing to have. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Sorry about the deeply unglamorous situation that I find myself in, but I hope I will be able to be functional sooner rather than later. But I'm not going to be up and about for quite a while because I'm not going to be able to walk for the next 6 weeks. So, very tiresome. Very tiresome. And as I said, totally unnecessary. You do not have a venue with such a massive drop, because it's not even a step. It's like a totally different level. And you don't even warn people. They have evidently a strip. But this strip, when you look at it, doesn't look as if it is a line of demarcation, demarcating one level from the other. It simply looks as if it's a pattern, black on black, very chic looking, but really very stupid of them. I mean, fashion is one thing, stupidity is another, and irresponsibility is also another. And on that note, I'll say Godspeed. Please keep the questions and comments coming in, and let's rock and roll to the extent I can, because I believe in rising to the occasion no matter what, and as long as I can, I'm going to. And also, I think it might be interesting to some of our community to give you a little background as to the accident and the aftermath, at least today's. So I'll show one or two clips, like, for instance, me on the floor at the screening while the movie is playing above me, which I insisted that it play, because after all, who wants to be a spoil sport? and then one or two of the doctors and the room, that sort of thing, to give a little idea of really the absolutely tiresome nature of what has happened. So, Godspeed. Bye bye. I'm going to do it and hand it over to Primrose. So we are in the hospital in the here is my amazing view of my room, which unfortunately I can't really see because I can't move, but it's a wonderful view.